intros from each one of them, and then we're going to get into questions, and then we'll let y'all ask questions as well. So I will call your names and then ask you to do introductions. Kakenya, would you like to go first?
Thank you. Is this on? Can you hear me?
I think talk into it and he'll turn it on for us.
Is it working now? Yes. Oh, okay. My name is Kakenya Ntaiya, and I come from a place called Enosain in Narok, where the wildebeest migrations are. I grew up there, now that I'm here. I am the founder of Kakenya's Dream. And Kakenya's Dream is really a place where we empower girls to achieve their full potential. I started the organization because as a young girl, I was engaged when I was 5 years old. I was supposed to be married when I was 12. But I managed to escape early marriage, but I did go through female genital cutting, so I'm a survivor. And the school is really about, our organization is all about empowering girls through education, giving them the full potential and power to be who they want to be in the world. And that's free from female genital cutting, free from early marriages, and making sure that we change that generation of women so that we can end these harmful practices that continue to harm girls. I guess that's who I am.
That's great, thank you. And we'll just go down the line. So Nikita, if you'd like to go next.
Hello, namaste, my name is Nikita. I'm from Little Sisters Fund. So I am studying to be a paralegal right now and hoping to be a lawyer in the near future. But this would not have been possible, not even remotely possible, without Little Sisters Fund. It has absolutely changed my life, because I would really be married or have kids or both at this time. Or even, I mean, I was supposed to be married at 12. My parents decided to drop me out of school, and I was really worried about my future as well as my present at the moment of going through as a child bride. But the fortunate day, I guess, I met one of the co-founders in Nepal, and I was given this gift of education, which has changed my life, and I hope to do the same for many, many girls like me in the future. That's really what I intend to do.
Okay, Sapana.
Thank you. And I was just looking everywhere. We all are women here. That is so great. My name is Sapana. I am one of the beneficiaries of Little Sister Fund. I joined Little Sister Fund in 2009. So after that, it has been my home. When I say home, it's actually been my home, because I lost my parents when I was really little. My mother when I was 4, and my father when I was 16. So I joined Little Sister Fund, and the Ojha Didi, which is another co-founder, has been like my mother. She just helped me throughout the whole career, where being a little girl, I have a lot of questions about myself, about the world, and everything I see. And then obviously Trevor died as a brother, because I don't have any brothers biologically. I have just 2 sisters, and they're back home in Nepal. So after joining Little Sister Fund, it just gave me a home. I would also say Little Sister Fund as a magical school, where I get to learn my magic, and now I am outside the world. I get to show my magic and wow the world. Which, saying about magic, I got to come over here to do my bachelor's in science, public health. I just finished my bachelor's in science last year, 2017, and now I'm outside the world. Thank you. And now I'm outside. I work for the Medicaid patients for the chronic care management. And I am planning to do my master's in public health as well, epidemiology or some research field for disease. And I'm absolutely happy that I'm here today. And without education, it would not have been possible. Thank you.
Thank you. And Trevor, if you want to tell us about yourself and how you came to be on the stage here with the Little Sisters?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Thank you, Jada, all of you guys at Dining for Women. I keep finding myself in big rooms with only women. A week ago today, I was with 240 little sisters in Kathmandu. This morning, I was with one of our graduates who's getting her degree down in Louisiana, and it's really, like, this is where my life is. But thank you very much for having me here today. I'm under strict orders not to cry. I've been known to get a little weepy. So it's probably good you're sitting in between me and these two, because the closer I am. But my name is Trevor Patzer. I'm founder and executive director of the Little Sisters Fund here in the US. And I grew up in Idaho. I'm a middle-class kid from the Potato State. And when I was 12 or 13, a family friend offered that if I got accepted into one of the elite boarding schools in New England, he would pay my way. And so I know personally how education can change your life. And ever since my first day at St. Paul's, I knew that I wanted to pay it forward. I wanted to give somebody else an opportunity for an education. I just didn't know how that would manifest itself. And then in 1998, I went trekking in Nepal. I saw the need for education there. I realized that if I hadn't gone to boarding school, I still would have gone to college. But in some other places in the world, just getting a primary degree, going to school is a great blessing. So I asked the woman who I was staying with, I asked Ojha, I said, Ojha, is there a child who I can help with the education? And she said, no, Trevor, there's not a child, there's a girl. And she introduced me to the plight of women and the challenges facing women and girls throughout the world. I was pretty ignorant with my Ivy League degree up until that point in time about those specific challenges. Now we sponsor a little over 2,000 girls on an annual basis. We have a little over 500, thank you. These guys. We have a little over 500 graduates. And just a couple of quick facts. In rural Nepal, 40% of girls are married by the age of 14, and over half of them have babies by the age of 16. And Nepal, unfortunately, is the largest per capita offender of the trafficking of girls into the sex trade. And it's because of poverty, but they're also sandwiched between India and China, so it's a real precarious place to be. So anyway, that's why we do what we do, and we're fortunate to have Nikita and Sapana here with us. So thank you for having us.
Thank you so much. And Stephanie, tell us about yourself and what led you to work with Batonga Foundation.
Sure, thank you. Thanks so much for having us here, and thanks so much to each and every one of you and to Dining for Women as a whole for supporting us. We are actually, I think, the featured grantee for this month, the Batonga Foundation, so thank you. And has anyone in the room had a chance to watch our Google Hangout, or does anybody know who Angelique Kidjo is? Great, that's wonderful. So she told me to please give a personal hello and thank you. She really wanted to be here, but she is on tour on the West Coast, actually in Seattle, and I think today LA. She's releasing a new album in June. And basically, our story really starts with her. So she now is a 3-time Grammy Award-winning artist, and she really looked back at her life and her success and thought, well, how did I get here? From being this little girl growing up in Benin to now, winning 3 Grammys. And she credits that success to the ability she had to go to school. And it's ability that, unfortunately, too many girls never have, as Trevor said. And when you look at a country like Benin, 3 out of 4 girls never make it to middle school. And, it's shocking, it's unacceptable. And Angelique said, I have to do something to change that. And she is one of the most rare just forces of energy that I've ever had the chance to meet and work with. And this is truly her cause. She will not stop fighting until every last girl is in school and has that chance to get an education. So this is really her heart and soul. It's what she is really, doing sort of in everything that she does. Every concert, she mentions it, everywhere she goes. So please go and see her if you ever get the chance. But we're really focused on finding the most vulnerable, the most off-track girls and making sure that we're connecting them to the ability to either go back into the formal school system or receive social and financial education through girls' clubs. Because what we've seen as an organization is that while the formal school system is definitely the best option, it may not always be a possibility. If we find a girl who's had, unfortunately, to get married at a very early age or has children at a very early age, the most realistic option for her might be to go to a girls' club every week and receive social and financial literacy training that she can then use to get back into school should she have that option, or to start a small business and support her family if that's what makes sense for her life. So that's what we do, and with the help and support of Dining for Women, we've been able to reach more girls in our clubs than ever before. So thank you so much, and I look forward to talking a little more about that on the panel, and it's an honor to be here with you all.
Thank you. So the first question that I wanted to ask about with everyone is, how does your organization interpret and enact girls' empowerment? And I'm going to let Stephanie go first because she already touched on it a little bit. So I want her to tell us again what girls' empowerment means to Batonga Foundation and how you enact that. And we're asking that because girls' empowerment is a really nebulous term. It's very ambiguous. It can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. So we want to hear what each of your organizations does for girls' empowerment and how you view it.
Sure, and I was thinking a lot about this over the course of the conference, and I think for Batonga, the way that we interpret girls' empowerment is really giving girls the skills and the knowledge and the assets they need to sort of overcome the challenges of adolescence. And it struck me when Abigail Disney yesterday was talking, when she did the exercise about closing our eyes and thinking about ourselves as an 8-year-old girl and then 14, and we all, I think, sort of had this same image. And it was very similar to something that one of the girls in one of our clubs told me. She said, you know, it's sort of like, I feel like my path to adulthood was like I was walking up a hill, and then I reach, a certain age, I think she said age 10, and it's like there's this cliff. And I'm looking down, and there's, child marriage, there's, early childbirth, there's, human trafficking, there's all of these risks that are right in front of me, and on the other side is this happy and healthy adulthood, but I don't know how to get there. So for us, empowerment is helping girls build that bridge across so that they can get from that age 8 to a happy adulthood without having to fall into those very sad, very horrible outcomes. And that's what we're doing. So the way that we empower women and girls is that we connect them to clubs where they have the support of a mentor and their peer groups, and then they get the social and financial literacy education that I was speaking about before. And what we've seen is that these girls, not only is their self-esteem and leadership skills improve, but they also are able to start these small businesses and really provide for their families, give back to their communities, and support each other. It's really wonderful to see they've created savings groups within their clubs. And so, if one woman has a health issue in her family, she's able to then take savings and use it for that. And so it's also about women supporting women. So that's, I think, that probably is how we define and enact empowerment.
That's great. Thank you. Kakenya, please tell us about what this looks like on the ground in Kenya at your schools.
One of the things that I have to say that every single girl has potential. Every single girl has a vision. Every single girl has a determination. And what we do, or what we try to do, is to create the space to really unlock that potential within the girls. I can share numerous examples from a girl who was kidnapped, raped to be married, and even though she was gone for a week, she found her way back to looking for support. And where we come in is to take her in, put her in a very safe place, give her the counseling, support that she would need to actually recover from that. It's about a girl who you on my session earlier of faith who had that, there's a school that enrolls only girls. And even though her father and her mother said no, she walked 5 miles to look for that school. And it's really about, and I think for all these organizations that you see here that work with girls, it's really about creating this space to really unlock that potential in each one of them. And I have seen that all girls need is somebody to tell them that I believe in you, and here is a space, thrive. And we've done that in many numerous ways. For us, we start from how you raise your hand in the classroom, from our self-defense training and telling people this, telling the girls, this is my body, don't touch it. I say no. I say no to rape. I say no to FGM. I say no to getting married before I'm 18. I say yes to going to school, and I demand my rights. It's really about getting girls be girls. Telling them it's okay to jump rope when the society is telling them it's time for you to behave well and put your feet together and all of that nonsense that they tell girls. But it's really about, and each one of us does this, is creating that space where girls just become girls and a place they can dream and achieve their full potential.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Letting girls become girls. It makes a lot of sense,
They're empowered already,
it?
just let them be girls.
Yeah, I love it. Trevor, that sounds a little bit like Little Sisters Fun, right?
Yeah, so female empowerment, it's a nebulous term out there. I made a bunch of pens for our girls a couple years ago, and it says safety, education, mentoring, empowerment, leadership. And those are the steps that I see, or that we see along the way. First, there's safety. And what we do is we provide safety because the safest place for a girl in a dangerous place for girls is in school. So we provide safety through scholarships. Then what comes naturally is an education. From that, we have the mentoring where our older girls mentor the younger girls, and who better knows the challenges facing a young at-risk girl in Nepal than a girl who a couple years ago was a young at-risk girl in Nepal and is now in university, and it's a Sapana or a Nikita or an Akriti or a Kriti, whoever these remarkable young women are. And then empowerment, and finally I see leadership. And so I ask people oftentimes, what's the difference between a girl in first grade and a girl in second grade? And to me, there's not a lot of difference. But what's the difference between a girl in second grade and a girl in college? Now that's where the magic happens. And I also like to say girls don't need help. Girls need equal opportunity. As long as girls have an opportunity, the sky's the limit, the star's the limit, whatever, there's no limit, right? And so what we do is we provide, we've got a number of different scholarship programs. We support girls from grades 1, 2, 3 on up to class 12. And then we've got 8 interlocking programs of support, counseling and awareness raising. We call it our CAR program. Which I think is far more important than the actual education you get in the classroom. These are things about my body is my body. I make my own decisions. I will be a doctor, I will be a lawyer, I will be a teacher, whatever it is that they want to be. We have preventative and emergency health care because girls need to be in school, and if one breaks a collarbone or a leg or gets sick, we have to have the ability for her to recover so she can return back to the classroom. Primary educator training, we work with teachers in the schools because if you help a teacher diversify from rote memorization into critical thinking and analytical thinking, that touches the lives of not just girls, but girls and boys and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, thousands of children's and lives. And then some of our newer programs, we have community projects where girls can identify a challenge facing them in their community. They don't have a girls' toilet. If you don't have a girls' toilet, there's not a safe place for girls to go to the bathroom or to change a pad during their cycle. And so we'll do a girls' toilet or a drinking water project or a safe place or a science lab. And it's where girls identify a challenge in their community, come to dream up what they want to do, how they want to address it, put together a proposal, get the funding for it, implement it, and then see the project through. So it's really a leadership opportunity. And then a couple of things, like I think the most transformative thing that we're doing at the Little Sisters Fund in the past 15 years is we started our higher education and healthcare opportunity funds. So we educate the girls 100% up through 12th grade. But then what happens, right? In Nepal, only 15% of girls college age are actually in college. For us, our college matriculation rate is over 93%. And so what we do, thanks, what we do is we also don't want to create dependency, so we've funded the girls up through 12th grade, but the last thing we want is for them to feel dependent on us. So we offer them a small loan, which enables them to have the confidence to move forward in their higher education and maybe not just get the baseline level of a college degree, but maybe reach a little higher, maybe reach really a lot higher and become a doctor or something like that. But medicine in Nepal, and anywhere in the world, is almost exclusively for the wealthy, or it has been, because it costs so darn much. And we're smashing through those barriers because the girls are, they're able to get a larger loan and go to med school. And so we now have 2 girls in med school, girls in dental school, girls in physiotherapy and in pharmacy, like, you know, really great opportunities, and a ton of girls in nursing. Nurses are awesome in any country. And then, as I told you, we're working in menstrual health management because the average woman menstruates 3,000 days a year. And, you know, if a girl loses a quarter of her educational... No, not a year, sorry, in a lifetime. Leave it to the guy to screw up the numbers, right?
You've got to understand, we're down here, we're looking up at y'all, it's nerve-wracking.
Sorry, 3,000 days in her lifetime, when she can lose up to a week, a month of school for this. And in certain places, like in Nepal, there were a couple high-level cases where a girl died of asphyxiation. She was banished out to a barn. Another girl died of exposure. These kind of practices are happening in Nepal, but I know that they're happening elsewhere in the world as well. And so if you can provide a way for girls to be safe and dignified, cost-effective, environmentally friendly sort of thing. So we try to take a holistic approach, a meaningful way, not to help girls, because again, they don't need help, but to empower girls to take control of their own future.
That's great, thank you. So I think what we want the takeaway to be from that question is that girls' empowerment is really, it's all encompassing, and it's really meant to fit the situation, the local situation, but it's a wraparound, it's holistic, so it's education to learn how to read and how to write, but it's also how to manage your period and how to manage your health care and how to manage your relationships with your parents and boys and everything. And that's what's so wonderful about all of these programs, so thank you. So we're going to do the next question. I'm going to go Kakenya and Stephanie and then the Little Sisters. So this one is, how will the future look different for the individuals that you serve and for the communities that you serve because of your program, because of the education that's received in your program? And as Dining for Women members, we learn about these programs once, right? That's usually what happens. They turn in interim reports, they turn in final reports, but usually what we see is the 1 month where we learn about their country and their program. And so this is an opportunity for y'all to learn about what happens next, what happens because of our support. So Kakenya, please go ahead.
Thank you. I want to talk about Angeline, who I met 9 years ago when she came to my school. Angeline is an orphan. She didn't have a mother or a dad. And her older sister was disabled, but had a baby at the age of 13. And Angeline was taken care of by a grandmother, and sometimes she was needed by her auntie and sometimes her uncle. So she was moving from one house to another. She was a house help kind of person. And when we were taking the girls, that's the time that was my first group of girls that I was taking, and I had in my mind that I needed to reach the most needy, vulnerable girls. When my selection committee, which had like the men and the women, were part of this selection, because I didn't really know who was who, they told me that Angeline actually, because she was not disabled, she was the good one, and she was going to be married. There was already an identified husband that she can get married to, so she can be able to take care of her brother who was younger than her. And I told the people in my community, they told me that this is not the girl that, she doesn't fit the criteria of the girls that you should have this, because she already has a husband, so she needs to go and take care of the brother. And I said, that's the person that I actually need in this school. So we took Angeline, and when she came in, because she was an orphan who had been moving from house to house, her health was not that well, so our school would provide a well-balanced diet, so feeding was very important. Uniform is very important, so from shoes, she's never had shoes, and all that identity of a woman, a girl, is like, dressing up nicely and all of that. And we saw her transformation from this girl who really didn't belong anywhere to a girl who was very bubbly, happy, excited, and so a year later, the parents kept telling me, is that the same girl we took? And I said, yes, very smart in math. Angeline is going to college this year. And she's going to college because I talked earlier about the space that we created. And Angeline is not going through female genital cutting, because every single girl that comes to our school, one of the things that we work with their parents is to ensure that the girls don't go through the female practice, the female genital cutting. She's not going to be married before she's going to college already. And what has happened, Angeline is just a story of 350 girls that I have in our school that I've worked with in terms of creating the space, enabling that the teachers, when they come to the classroom, biggest thing is when you put girls into the same school and the same environment where the boys and the community are, sometimes they're put back to the same things that they go through home. So they're the ones sweeping the house, they're the ones cleaning the teacher's housing, they're the ones who really there's no safety, and it's a lot of issues happen. They're walking to school, it's dangerous, they get raped and all of that. So safety is very important. I think we talked about that. So we want to make sure that all of that is taken care of. So and our push, and when you look at the young ladies like the ones that are here, you cannot just say, I'll provide you scholarship. You cannot just say, you have to really look at a girl holistically. And that's how we look at it. And what you see now, Angeline is part of the first generation of women in my community who will not go through FGM. Her kids will not go through FGM.
Correct, you break the cycle.
So you are breaking the cycle. And she's more likely to get a job, she's going to take care of herself. It changes the whole future, and it's really about that one person changing the story of her family, changing the story of her community, changing the story of her power. They are changing their generation, and this is the future. Every single girl we help makes a difference in their community, in their world. She said, I want to help others that I've been helped. I want to help others. And that is really about the future that we are making. We're creating a better future by investing in girls. The returns are endless. They're endless.
That's great. Thank you. Stephanie, would you like to tell us how it looks in Benin?
Sure. I think that Kakenya really couldn't have said it better. I think it's about breaking the cycle, because that's what really happened. Just looking, Batonga's only been around for 10 years, so we're able to look back at the girls that we first started serving. But before I talk about that, it always amazes me just to look at Angelique's life. Her mother didn't have the opportunity to go to school, and partially because of that, she said that when her girls had that chance, she was going to make sure it happened. And Angelique went to school and went through, I think, college high school, I think, in Paris after she moved there. And now her own daughter went and just graduated from Yale. So you can see the generational difference that just, helping one woman go through school and complete her education, what a difference that can make. And it really does break the cycle. And just to talk about, I've been working with Batonga since 2008, which is, it's crazy how fast it's gone by, but on my first trip to Benin, I met a young girl at the time, Anastasie, who was from a small village and was very shy, and we had just started supporting her through middle school with uniform and school fees. And I was talking to her and she said, you know, my dream is to, and I couldn't believe these words came out of her mouth, but she said, I really want to eradicate childhood mortality in my village. And I said, wow. And I said, never stop, never stop. And then a couple years later, I went back and she had lost both of her parents, unfortunately, in the time that I had been back in DC, and we had sort of been in touch and we're supporting her. And she said, you know, I feel like I'm in a difficult situation because I'm living with an aunt. It's not really working out. So we helped arrange for her to actually go to a boarding school and finish her education there. Sort of like the young woman that you mentioned, she's now in college, which is fantastic. She's studying to be a doctor. And she is also serving as a mentor for our girls' clubs. So the other thing that's really wonderful about the kind of empowerment we're talking about is the ripple effect. Batonga's logo is a butterfly, and that symbolizes the ripple effect, that when you empower and educate one woman, the effect just, it goes so far beyond even that one woman and her family, but it affects her community, her country, and the world. It really does. So.
Thank you. I don't know about y'all, but I get really excited when I hear that girls who have gone through programs that we've supported have themselves become mentors. And Nikita is going to tell us about that firsthand.
Thank you, Jada. About how education changed my life and all of the other girls' life, I'd like to go back in details a little bit. So when my parents lost their job, and I'm from a middle-class family born into two different castes. It's similar to being born into two different races here, I think. And my family support was not so good for both my parents and us, and my parents are deaf and silent on top of that. So there was not a good family support system for me, my sister, and my parents. And when they lost their job, my parents talked about dropping me from school or putting me into a public school, which is pretty much like dropping. It was pretty much like dropping out of school because there was no, set schedule of going to school. Teachers didn't care about if you did come to school or not. There were not English classes provided and lots of things. So when I first met Ojha Didi, who's the co-founder of Little Sisters Fund, in Nepal, and Annual Day and Little Sisters Fund, I remember my mom was the one who pushed me and asked me to go talk to her, at least interpret for her, because I was very shy in the beginning. I mean, I was very, very reluctant to go talk to her, but my mom was the one who said, you have to talk to this wonderful lady, and I did. And here I am, I can actually talk. I still get a little nervous, but I can talk to you in front of everyone, and I can talk, I can speak, and it's basically because of education. Not just that, the lack of support that I had from my family, from my extended family, I've received in Little Sisters Fund. I've met so many younger girls who call me Nikita Didi, which is elder sister, because they're younger, and I see them going through changes. I've seen Sapana when she was really young. I know her from when she was really young. I've seen girls who were this little, I guess, and now they text me and they send me a message on Facebook saying, hey Didi, I graduated, or I'm participating in a program, or I am doing this in community, or all sorts of things. And that is really the existence or the proof that education works, and that's how life's changed in Nepal. And recently I went to a United Nations 60-second CSW program, which my mom was participating in. And I feel glad to say that because of the education I received, but because of the support I received from everyone, I was able to actually go into United Nations and tell them my mom doesn't speak American Sign Language. She only speaks Nepali Sign Language. So I was able to go into United Nations and I was able to tell them, hey, this is a deaf person. She's from Nepal. She's here to participate. She came all the way from Nepal, and you guys do not have an interpreter for her, not even an American Sign Language interpreter. She was one of the few deaf women participating in the event. I was able to go talk to people in the United Nations, and I was able to tell them, if you guys are not going to provide an interpreter, I'm going to interpret for her. I understand English. I went through school, I went through college, I understand English, I can translate for her, I can interpret for her. And this is all the results of getting education, as well as, like I said, it's not just about education, about getting support and I guess breaking the cycle that you guys talked about earlier, being able to, I guess, I don't know, just break that cycle and talk and I guess make a difference.
Sapana, it's your turn.
Thank you. And I have a story as well. She was telling earlier how every girl has their own opportunity, own story, own empowerment, and every girl has a story in Little Sister Fund. I vaguely remember when I was little, I was one of those curious George where I would want to know everything about everything. This little students going to school. So I guess over here as well, but in Nepal we have students, they have a certain uniform they wear when they go to school, and I wanted to wear that. So I kept asking my mother, when do I get to go to school? And she would say, next year. So I was like, okay, so when next year comes? And then obviously once you don't get the answer from your mother, you go to your father, and then I would ask my father. And then he's like, well, we don't have money to put you in a school, so I don't know. And then I wanted to find that answer, like, how can I go to school? And there was a school right next to where I used to live, and I started peeking from the window, like what they do in there. Obviously, curious George. So it made me just want to, like, yes, I want to go to school, that's all I want. And then obviously I was able to get hold of Little Sister Fund, which changed the whole life. I was little, I was not, as she said, I was very quiet, not speaking too much, not very interactive. Then we do little events every year. We gather girls who score good marks, who perform well. Little Sister Funds gives them a little achievement card. And the Ojha Didi, who is a co-founder, made me the MC of that program. I had no idea, but then she's like, oh, so do you know who's gonna talk in the program this year? Sapana. And I was this little girl like sitting in the corner. I was like, no, I can't do that. And she's like, no, you can. It's your turn now. So that actually changed a lot of things. Then I realized the fact that how education gives you voice. I was just not up for that, and I was able to talk. And after that, I was able to talk about my rights. I was able to talk how once you are given the education, you will be able to grab that opportunity and just keep going on and on. So now, since I do have my bachelor's and I am here in this land of opportunity, I started supporting a little sister. Her name is Sarita Tamang. She's in 7th grade right now. She's doing great. She sends a letter every month saying how good she's doing and all. And that just makes me so happy that after I got the gift of education, I'm able to help another sister. And then not just the sister from Little Sister Farm, I'm also helping my sister. I have two sisters, the bigger one and little one, I'm the middle one. My big sister, she stopped going to school because she had to take care of us after my parents passed away. So now I'm helping her. She wants to learn English as well as everything that's going on. So I put her in a little tuition center where I asked somebody to teach her, because now I don't want to say she deserves it, but I just feel sad that she lost that opportunity just because my parents passed away and she had to take care of us. And now and my little sister also goes to school, and she keeps saying me how she gets inspired by me, that I'm here getting my education and doing everything. But one of the things that I learned when I was in Little Sisters Fund, obviously my parents were not there to teach me, but Ojha Didi, the co-founder, kept saying that now you're given the gift of education, you have 3 things that you should strive to achieve. And those 3 things starts from C, so 3 C's. Number 1 is cash, the financial stability, being educated, being able to find a job, being able to support yourself, being the women that we want to be. Number 2 is car. So I remember I got my the first car when I was in sophomore, junior year. It was like $1,000 1996 Honda. I got my car, and I don't know about everybody, but I felt so amazing that right after I got my license, I drove to New Jersey. So amazing, like the freedom, the freedom, it's just so amazing. So it felt amazing, and obviously the freedom, being able to be independent, not dependent on anybody. And the third one is coffee, but it's not coffee. I wanted to put coffee, but I drink a lot of coffee. The third one is condom. So the third C's out of 3 C's is, the third one is condom. After you are educated, being able to plan your whole life, deciding when do you want to have babies. Not at the age of 16, I don't think so. I mean, obviously, if I didn't have education, I would be making babies in 16 and 15, because in Nepal, obviously, Trevor, just stated the statistics, how girls get pregnant and have babies at the age of 16. But I have education, so I didn't do that. Condoms, it's the metaphor where we should be able to plan our family life, like family planning. Not marrying a guy just because you don't have job, you don't have car, you don't know what you're doing, and just marrying them and being dependent on them for food and all those things. So those 3 C's have changed my life, and also if I didn't have education, I would not be able to strive and be able to complete those 3 C's steps.
Great. Aren't y'all glad you chose to come to this session? And I'm glad to see Betsy Teich sitting over there, because I wish you had your card right now. There you go. How about the voice and the megaphone one, right? So if you weren't here for the advocacy panel, Betsy held up some cue cards, some flashcards for us. She used to be a teacher. Now she's a writer and advocate. And I think that's exactly what they were talking about, right? And this is our opportunity as well, to be a voice and to amplify that. And I love that y'all both talked about that, and we had talked about it earlier. So that's really, it's tying it all together, isn't it? Yeah. So one last question for me, for the entire panel. And, well, this one is for Trevor and Stephanie and Kakenya, and I think we'll go in that order. And this is, how are you engaging the next generation to become change agents? And how can we support this? So we've already talked about it a little bit, but maybe you've already said it. This is your chance to say it again so that we remember it. So how are you engaging the next generation to become change agents? And how can we support this?
Great. So I like to be. I'm a pretty black and white. I'm probably very frustrated to my wife. Like there's a right and there's a wrong, and I try to tend out of the gray. So some of you out there are like, oh my God. But I like short and kind of straightforward things. And so one thing in the Little Sisters Fund, we have what we call our mantra. And it's 25-27. And we tell the girls, it's not like we're going to beat them with a stick or something like that, but we say 25. Don't get married until you're at least 25 years of age. Focus on your studies, focus on your career. And if you tell girls that, they start to think that way. And then a young woman who's 25 has a very different perspective and ability to change her future. And then 27 is don't have children until you're at least 27. Get married, take a little time. You have plenty of time for kids. There's no hurry. We also talk to the girls about the Little Sisters Fund, or we call ourselves E4E, Education for Empowerment in Nepal. We provide half of a wheel for them. Their education is half of the wheel. The second half of the wheel is when they then support the education of another little sister. At least one. I say at least one, 5, 10, 100, that's all great, but at least one girl who you don't know. Pay it forward and make a difference. But the future, we rely heavily on our girls. And so 20 years from now, I think that over half of the scholarships provided by the Little Sisters Fund will be coming from the graduates of the Little Sisters Fund. And I had one other point in my, sometimes just, and mentoring. I talked a little bit about mentoring earlier, but the younger girls, we have what we call our coordinating mentors, and they're girls who have come through the program, come up through the program, and then they now mentor groups of 20, 30, 40, 50 other girls. And the soft mentoring education is so incredibly critical, because I remember when I was, in middle school and a high schooler would say something to you, and you took that as like, that is the fact. You listen so well. If your mom and dad say something, it's like, yeah, what do you know? But if someone in high school says, it's like, that's really the deal. And so we rely very heavily on our older girls who mentor the next generation of younger girls. And like I said before, who knows better the challenges facing these girls than girls who face those same challenges, who rose above those challenges and who are now capable young leaders on the other side. So I think the future is making sure that the youth in Nepal picks up, because so last Saturday, a week ago today, I said I was in a room with about 240 of our girls in 11th and 12th grade, and I asked them quickly, I said, I've got one question, there's no right answer, I want your honest opinion, not what your friend is gonna say, but what you say. How many of you think that Nepal, and we could say this, the youth probably, I would think probably throughout the world, is getting better, is getting worse, or is staying the same in their own countries? How many think it's worse? Not a single girl raised her hand. How many of you think it's staying about the same? About 5 or 6 girls. And then when I said, how many think it's getting better? All of them raised their hands. And so I think that that's a really powerful statement about the future and the hope and the opportunity, and that these girls feel empowered and they feel like the future is now mine. I get to make my own future. And that is so powerful from girls who come into the fund and they're just frightened and afraid, as they both talked about, to the young women you see in front of you. And all it takes to get there is someone saying, I believe in you, and not helping girls, but creating opportunity. That makes all the difference. So, anyway.
I'm
done.
No, there's one more part. There's one more part, very quickly. How can we support you in this? And it could be advocacy, it could be money, whatever you want to tell us.
Yeah, so, everything we do relies on our older little sisters, but it also always comes back to the finances. And every country in the world is the same, and every country in the world is different. And so we've gotten to be very good at what we do working in Nepal, and a lot of what we do is would be very, very applicable in other countries as well. Not everything, but certainly kind of like the foundations. I would encourage you to take that 25-27 with you. Like, it's simple, it's powerful. Don't get married until you're at least 25. And then I bring up my wife. My wife is a surgeon. She's a colon and rectal surgeon. Stay away from her if you can, right? But if you need her, it's good that she's there. But she got married when she was 37. You know, because she had to go through her undergrad degree, her medical degree, her residency, then her fellowship. But a woman who has her degree, like 25, and it's interesting, the holy book, and I'm getting off, the holy book in Nepal is called the Gita, and in the Gita it says your first 25 years you should just focus on your studies. So it's nice because it kind of lends in to kind of the cultural, religious side of Nepali society as well. So for us, you know, we would love to collaborate with the other recipients, because Dining for Women, they're really meticulous. And actually the application process is a little bit painful. I think it was like 22 pages long. But that vetting process is awesome because you get remarkable people. And so working together, but then obviously, you know, funding, it all comes down to funding. You know, not half of our girls aren't supported yet by Little Sisters. 20 years from now, so to bridge those 20 years, for us it's a question of making sure that we have the funds to help more girls. I was just out in the country, and still 30% of the girls in our program, you know, live in houses with dirt floors and sleep on the dirt floors. And so, you know, when you ask about how are you getting to the most needy, my team is very good. We work with the schools and the communities to identify the girls most at risk and the girls who would benefit most by having a little bit more opportunity in their life. So
That's great. Thank you. Stephanie, if you'll go ahead.
That's so great. No, it's an awesome intro into exactly what I was thinking and hoping to touch on. So in terms of just equipping the next generation of change makers, I want to talk really quickly about two tools that Batonga uses to be sure that we're doing that. And one of them is called the Girl Roster. And it's basically a cell phone app that is a household survey. So you pull it up on your cell phone just like any other app, and you swipe through it, sort of like, I'm trying to think of something similar. It's sort of, yes, Tinder, yes. It is similar to Tinder, except you're not, it's not a dating site. But yeah, it's as easy to use as Tinder. So you go door to door, and you can actually, our teams on the ground with a team of about 10 people can survey a community of 5,000 in one day. And that's because the Girl Roster is very short, it's very non-sensitive, we don't take people's names, but the idea is that we go into these communities and we survey them first before we start working there. Because we don't want to just assume that we know what sort of challenges those girls are facing. And I've heard many people say, because we've also trained other NGOs to use this tool, and we'll go into a community and they'll say, oh, you know, I know what we're going to find here. We're going to find that there are a bunch of girls out of school. And then when we actually do the survey and we look at the data, it turns out a lot of the girls were in school, but they were living with one parent, or they were living with a cousin or an aunt. So the challenges they're facing are different than what we might assume. So we go into a community and we go door to door, we pull this information so that we can really see what are those challenges and how can we best respond and meet their needs. So we'll create girls clubs with content that is relevant to the needs of those girls. Which brings me to the second tool, which is called the Asset Building Toolkit. And it basically, I wish I had it with me, it's basically like a deck of cards. So you open it up and every card has a different asset on the card. And it could be something like having 3 people to go to in case of emergency, or knowing, you know, exactly what to do in case of rape, knowing how to create a savings account, knowing how to make a budget, and knowing which expenses, you know, can be put off until next month and which can't. Those are all assets that would be on different cards in the toolkit, and the girls sit down with their mentors and they go through each asset and they talk about which ones they feel good, they have that, it's covered, and then which ones they really need to focus on in the groups. And that way we can go back to our curriculum that we use, which is modular, and pull very specific lessons to respond to the assets that the girls tell us they need. So again, we really try to focus on meeting girls where they are instead of just assuming that we might know where they are, or we assume that we know what they need. We try to really figure out from the get-go what are those needs, what is the situation, and how can we meet them where they are. And then how you can help us, you've done it already. You've supported us with funding, which is so critical. And then just being a small organization, your voice is really critical, getting the word out, letting other people know about what we're doing. Batonga is very small, and while we have an amazing founder, it's still a challenge to really reach people who might be interested and supportive of the work we're doing. So that would help us a lot. And then in terms of donations, the smallest amount goes a very long way. I just was writing down notes before I came in, and for example, $10 can buy a financial literacy curriculum exercise sheets for 3 girls for an entire year. $10, and you can give those exercise sheets to 3 girls for a year. It's, we spend more than that on lunch. And then $30 can provide supplies for 1 girl to start her small business with her mentor in her club. So again, very little amount goes a very long way, and those are just 2 ideas of how you can help us.
That's great. So far we've got collaboration, advocacy, and fundraising, raising awareness. Okay, and Kakenya.
Thank you. I think the greatest thing that we have in our place, because it's a school, it means we have the girls there. And at the school, so the school is a year-long school in Kenya, if you know that. They have a holiday in April, which is we give them 1 week. They actually don't want to go sometimes. So it gives us a lot of opportunities to really work on girls. I think most of the time when we talk about leadership, people think about running for office and like a CEO of a certain company and those big. But our start of leadership starts with the raising of your hand. Which is really about, we tell the girls it's a safe space, and for them it's actually good because it's all girls, so they can empower themselves. One skill that we use is we have a public speaking class. So when you come in 4th grade, you have to go through a public speaking class, and the public speaking is how do you say your name, how do you rise, how do you say it? And then the biggest part that the girls have is talking to the trees. You know how you talk to the mirror? They talk to the trees before they present, so they get their power with that. But the biggest way for them to do is through small group discussions. Each girl is good at something. So we have small group discussions within this class. So if you're good in math, you're going to teach math. If you're good in English, you're going to teach in English. So they really help each other. The other way, it's also through student leadership. So student council, from the head prefect to, dormitory, to cleaning, to dining hall. I mean, all those spots are like more leadership for speaking for yourself, but also speaking for the others. The other part that we have been really working on is that because we are very advantaged to having the girls in the school is through our health and leadership training program, which is an outreach program to other schools in the community. So we work with about 90 schools. And what we do, we bring girls to our campus for a week in December, a week in April, and a week in August. And our girls get to lead those sessions. And they're paired with 10 girls. So you are responsible for 10 girls for a week to teach them about, show them where to go, all the learning skills that are happening. So they're really experiencing a lot of hands-on speaking. Our biggest thing is like in our community, we're told that girls are supposed to behave well and we're not supposed to speak loud. So we are supposed to be quiet and proper. I don't know if that exists in your community. But during our health and leadership camp, we have this thing called self-defense. And the biggest word that everybody hears outside the camp is no! And we go from low to louder and louder and louder and louder until the whole market knows that is that school of no. And it's really about just saying no, like no. And it's that raising your voice really matters until they start believing. And I think that's the biggest thing. So mentorship, which we've talked about, of course, we link our girls now that, as they go up, we started with linking our girls to girls that are not part of our school, but part of community. Our older girls were linked to university students. They mentored them, and then our girls in high school mentor our girls in primary school. And that mentorship is really critical. It's more than what a teacher can do in a classroom. It's a safe space for the girls to share and learn from each other. Our biggest one now is that these girls have started going to radio stations to talk about what they're learning. And I'm like, huh? I did not see that in the picture. But it's really creating those spaces where they can feel comfortable. We've been very, very fortunate this year. We brought 4 girls to Model UN in 8th grade. I mean, I was like, what? And they were talking about issues of disabilities and just representing, was it China? It's like, what? And they learned about China and other countries, and it's just really opening up their world. The biggest tool that we use for that is really field trips, taking them out of the village. Let them go to Masai Mara. All of you go to Masai Mara. It's outside our place, but people from our community don't go in. So we take our girls to the field trip. We go to Nairobi, and them seeing women in parliament excites them. And I think Sapana talked about driving a car. Don't take that lightly. If you've grown in a community where no woman drives, and you walk into a city and you see all these women drive, my girls are like, wow. So I drive to my village, and I actually didn't understand that until I noticed people were saying, a woman is driving that car. And it's powerful. It might look like, I don't know how to call it, but it's powerful. It just shows you are in control, your freedom, you can go. So there are all these tools that we learn, but I think the biggest one is mentoring, creating the spaces where the girls can share, and really telling the girl, you know, what we are all about is just unleashing what is within you. I want you, if you're not going to be a banker, you can be the best mom that you can be. You can read for your children. You know, you can manage your home. I mean, that's a wonderful freedom to have, to be able to read for your children. Can you imagine that? Like, we take that for granted, but if women are not educated, they can't read for them. And now the studies say that the sooner we start reading when they're aware in the stomach, I'm like, what? But people can't read. But now, if you can even empower the girls to be able to read for themselves, that's it. I mean, it's really, empowerment is everything, and it's creating that space and they make me happy, and I just see the future is so much better because of the girls that we are helping. The future is so much better, and it just gives us hope. And I think I want to challenge all of us. I know that Dining for Women, you've supported our work. Keep doing that. You can learn about our work on Facebook, Kakenya's Dream. So go follow now. Go to our website and sign up for the newsletter. I have to acknowledge my better half, Jolina. Jolina does all our social media. Please stand, because I show her because she's the future of America. She finished undergraduate 2 years ago. She's going to law school. She's passionate about changing the future. And when we're talking about young people, this is what we're talking about. And she's helping our girls put their voices out there. And I just want to say thank you so much for doing that. It costs $1,250 to support a girl in my school for the whole year, food, everything, trips, everything. But if you go to our website, you really stay on, and I think all of us have websites. Sign up for the newsletter. It's the best way for you to learn about our program and how we are doing. It's good to listen to those stories of girls when they were playing on the snow for the very first time. You can get to see that. So be part of us, and thank you. For those who are coming to Kenya next year, I guess you'll come and see me. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we're opening it up for a few minutes of questions. We'll do them 3 at a time, right? I think we're used to this routine by now.
Yes, this is Beth Ellen. I just wanted to add that Dining for Women is taking a trip to Kenya next January, February, and we will be visiting Kakenya's Dream, Kakenya's School for Excellence.
And come to Nepal after. You're halfway there. Keep going. Keep going.
It's the best time to go to Kenya. It really is.
Hi. A few years ago, I was in India doing some research with adolescent girls on the taboos that they faced when they were menstruating and all the things they weren't allowed to do, like praying or eating with their family members. And I was really surprised. I asked them how they felt about this, and about 20% of the girls said that they thought it was a good thing. And just because your work is so subversive and changing cultures around gender equality, have you found families, parents, or even girls themselves that you're working with to be resistant of it, and how have you dealt with that?
Okay, great. And the next question? Anyone? Anyone?
I was wondering how the United Nations found your mother to choose a deaf woman from Nepal to speak at the United Nations.
Okay, and one more. Great, go ahead.
So thank you all for being here, and I'm so happy to know that you've connected with one another as grantees from Dining for Women. But I also know personally that in Nepal, I know of 2 other organizations, Blink Now, as well as Read Global, who is here, that you would be able to connect hopefully with them. And I'm sure in the other countries also. So, and one that comes to mind is Girl Determined in Burma. Sounds just like Kakenya's dream, and doing exactly the same things. So hopefully you would be able to reach out, and do you reach out to other organizations that have been funded by Dining for Women?
That's great. Okay, who would like to take the first question? Taboos and resistance in the community to the work that you're doing.
Surrounding menstruation, right?
I think menstruation, but anything in general, right? Yeah. Girls empowerment, yeah.
Okay, I can say something.
Okay, can you go ahead?
I think because one of the biggest issue that when you look at why, the reason why most parents don't take girls to school is one, when a girl goes to school, you're educating her for another family. So the first thing is that, why should I educate her? Let me educate the boy who will retain the honor for my family and the name for the family. So they start grooming the girl from a young age to believe that the best way for you is to get married and have children, and that's like the family actually actively look for a husband for you. So there's that thing that from a younger age you're just told that, you know, the best thing is to be a mother, the best thing is to be a child. So it's a more socialization thing that you're told. But the fortunate thing that we have, when we take the girls into our program, the parents don't really, once it's like their burden has been removed from them, kind of like, so what I've found that none of them come and take the girls back. It's more like, just deal with her, like, and then until she does really well, and then they change their mind, oh, that's my daughter. So it's really interesting how to look at those things. And I think when you talk about the taboo of, and all of us working with girls, I think menstruation period is like the biggest thing people really fear to talk about. And we start dealing with that when the girls just walk in. We start talking about these things and we really open up. Our trainings is about that. And the biggest thing that I really love this, you should try this, and maybe you do this with your girls, is, or the students you support, is, when the girls come in, we tell them to draw their future. You know, draw your future. What do you want to be? So a lot of them end up drawing a school, or they draw a home that has beautiful, like, so they have some picture of some building. A lot of them want to build a hospital, like they have in their mind a hospital. And these are things that are very dear to them. A school is because they've never really been in a very good environment that is being caring to them. So they want a school that protects them. And they want a hospital because maybe a family member is sick and all of that. So when you change that and you tell them this is possible, and you come back to it in 2-3 years and you see that progressing, it's just, and they start focusing on that, and they stop focusing on, I'm going to be married and having children and all of that. So taboo, I think the biggest way of dealing with it is just to be patient and also undoing it. We do this through the jumping of rope. So when a girl is 8-9 years, I talked earlier about, you start to be told you're now a big woman. There are certain things that you can do. Like jumping rope is a children thing. So when we bring the girls into our camp, the first thing they do is jump rope. And the first time they never believe, like, why should I be jumping rope? And then I jump rope. And then that is like way bad now. But at the end of the camp, the same girls who are afraid of jumping rope, we can now get them out of jumping the rope. Because there's freedom in that. And this is really, really like undoing the things that the society has told women, that you are dirty when you have menstruation periods. Really? It's maybe because there's no water, or maybe because she doesn't have sanitary pads, or maybe because really sanitary pads is a right. Like we should like have them everywhere, walking everywhere. Because, I mean, girls miss school because of that. They use cloths and you get blister in your legs. I mean, and that's why you're being told you're dirty? Really? How about we bring sanitary pads and you're clean all of a sudden? I think that's a thing that we need to really start looking at. How do we empower a girl? When we talk about empowerment, it's really an holistic, bringing dignity into their lives. Giving them a place to just be children, like any children you see on your neighborhood. And I really applaud programs that do girls' empowerment. I think every program that does girls' empowerment, they have to have sanitary pads in their thing. So just scrub everything else and put sanitary pads in that. You have to do that. So I think that answers a long story, but there are people who are against it, but we can't. What keeps me going is don't dwell on the negative. Don't dwell on being told this is how we've always been doing, but dwell on the positive. Dwell on the positive. And that's how we can really break these taboos. And all it takes is one girl to change that story of that village and that home.
We are technically out of time. No, you are great. We are technically out of time, but I know we want to hear from Nikita, right? Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, I'll make it short. About menstruating in specific, especially in Nepal, when I got my period first, I was literally taken out of my house 12 a.m. at night and sent to a different house because the rules are you can't see your father or you can't be in the house and all those separate things. I mean, I was fortunate enough that I wasn't in a hut with cows and snakes. I was in a isolated room, but it wasn't in a hut where I could have died. But like Trevor and I mentioned, there are still practices like that. It's called chaupari. There had been news about how many girls in Nepal died because of that. And mostly in the rural areas, people think it's normal, especially the girl who goes through it thinks it's normal. But in Nepal, in Kathmandu especially, last year there was a hashtag that trended in social media at least. So every year, like Christmas, we have Dashain. It's a humongous 10-day long festival, and you do Christmas, New Year sort of thing. You celebrate it for 10 days long. You worship, you eat, pretty much do everything. And there was a hashtag that trended. It said, you get your period every month, but Dasai only comes once a year. So that's how well, at least the literate women, they still celebrate it, because once you have your periods, you're not allowed to celebrate that festival. You're not allowed to participate in it. You're not allowed anywhere near it because it's supposed to be religious. So that's the hashtag that trended, and I saw lots and lots of fathers sharing it on social media, not just moms, not just the girls, not just the brothers, but fathers. It's a hard thing to change fathers in Nepalese society, especially fathers of our age. I mean, the younger generation is much more liberal, but fathers of our age are a little conservative, a little old-fashioned, and I saw lots of fathers sharing that and inspiring their daughters, saying, hey, your period comes every month, but Dasai comes only once a year, so go ahead and celebrate it. And I think that's a wonderful beginning of breaking that taboo of not doing your day-to-day activities during your periods.
Do you want to tell us how the UN found your mom?
Oh, about my mom. I forgot about that. So,
We won't tell her.
yeah, no, she'll kill me. No, so right after I joined Little Sisters Fund, my parents, I guess, had a less of a burden to have me funded for school, look for financial stuff, and my father founded an organization to help deaf people. So he would look for funds. I mean, it's not a big organization. They rely on mostly alumni donations and stuff like that. But anyway, so my mom took over my father. My father was outcasted by my mom. I mean, it makes me feel a little happy too, because, you know, women power, yay. But my mom, my father had his term ended basically, and my mom took over because you don't find a lot of men and women who are educated, especially people with disabilities. You don't have school, you don't have accessible school, especially people who are deaf. There's no interpreters for you. I mean, if you're deaf and if you have a kid, you're very lucky because your kid knows how to sign and knows how to help you communicate with the world. But if you don't have a kid, if you're young who's deaf, it's very unfortunate for them. And they founded an organization, and you know, they participate in programs, and it's been almost 20 years since they founded it. And my mom decided, since there was no representation of deaf women from Nepal in United Nations program whatsoever, this year she decided, I am going to UN. She sent a letter. She asked me to translate it. I translated it for her. She sent a letter. She said, I want to participate in this event. She didn't get fundings and stuff, so she didn't get funding from United Nations or anywhere, but she went there and she made her voice heard, and that's how it was, really.
She's a megaphone. Yeah. So I could stay here and talk all night, but we can't. I want y'all to know that Kakenya and Nikita and Sapana and Trevor and Stephanie will all be here for dinner tonight. I encourage you to go and talk to them. Talk to Stephanie about how they're expanding the programs. Talk to Trevor about how they are continuing with this health education, or excuse me, this health. Higher education and healthcare opportunity fund. Thank you. Talk with Sapana about her plans for taking public health and environmental services back to Nepal. Talk to Nikita about how she's going to become a lawyer and run the UN. And talk to Kakenya about the new high school that they're building. Thank you.